Hey everyone, welcome back to Inganock. So I'll be real honest with you. It's been about a few weeks, maybe a month, since the last recording session. So definitely been shirking my responsibility to play this. But luckily, this whole set of videos isn't going live until I actually am dedicated with scheduling. So I watched some of the last episode that we were doing, and so Salem ended up betraying us. She was like overcome by like this demon-y thing, and we managed to save what was her name? Fuck. The girl. Crap. I don't remember her name. Kiyah. Kiyah was Kiyah. Okay. We saved Kiyah from the clutches of that I think it was a child-killing beast thing, or well, it was killing anyone really, but it happened to be focusing on children because of Salem's desire to kill children because she couldn't have them because she changed from a guy to a girl, and obviously you can't reproduce biological functions like that. So anyhow, we did that, and then we ended last time where Atty, the cat girl, she was in the middle of a mission, doing something, I believe. So yeah, let's go ahead and just jump on back in here. Chapter 2, and now a fairy tale. I can hear something, the twittering sound of the warped, fantastic birds announcing morning. Normally, that'd be it, but now there was something else, something he shouldn't be hearing. Mixed into the twittering was the sound of something moving around. His apartment wasn't all that much to him, a place he could close his eyes, a place for him to sleep. And that used to be it, but now he could hear other kinds of sounds. Reserved sounds, quiet enough to avoid breaking the silence. He opened his eyes. A light was already pouring into his room. Was it morning already? A faint sense of morning was flooding in the air. The warped birds twittering, and some other sounds. It took him a while to notice what was different. This place was his bedroom, and it was dark as usual. However, the sounds he could hear definitely weren't normal. The sound of something being done. Sounds of daily life. Things he wasn't used to hearing. They echoed silently in his small bedroom. Then Guy forced himself awake and got out of bed. He could feel someone else's presence. He didn't ask whose, since this was the third day he'd felt it. It was morning. It had only been 3 days, but waking up already felt different. It wasn't midday with lingering traces of morning. It was morning. I've gotten quite used to this. Different sounds, and do I smell something? A smell wafted in as he opened the door. The smell of synthetic bacon frying in rationed cooking oil. Then something that sounded like synthetic eggs sizzling in a skillet. The rationed cooking oil giving out to registered citizens. Cheap, engine-produced bacon and eggs, and bread to that, and it'd be a good 7th-class citizen breakfast. This wouldn't be all that unusual in anyone else's apartment. No such provisions existed in Guy's apartment. At least they shouldn't have. Just as he started to think that, he shook his head. Yes, it was different now. 3 days ago, he went to Crowded Street during the evening for a needless injector? That was when she'd told him to buy all the food. It isn't particularly problematic. He hadn't said that aloud, but even so, it felt like the words were scrawled across his face anyway. He made her quite angry. She hadn't said anything, but her face showed it. In the end, that was why he'd asked her to buy he'd asked her what to buy. Since he managed to buy the injector at a cheap price, there was some money left over. And most of all, yes, she needed real food to eat at her age. He couldn't bring himself to make her use nutrients like he did. Improper growth led to death. But that wasn't really why Guy was doing this. Yes, she's helped. When he brought her outside, she wouldn't eat anything. Literally, nothing. Even though she'd eaten plenty the night after their first meeting, he was pretty sure it'd been when Atty was enjoying the food at the Engine Tavern and asking him a bunch of questions. But after that, whenever he brought her to a store, she wouldn't eat anything. She'd fall silent, not even touching her fork. Even when I asked why, she wouldn't answer. And that's why she was such a big help that evening. He'd thought the same thing yesterday morning, and the day before, while sitting here listening to the sounds of the experienced cook. Strangely enough, she seemed experienced at it. Quite strange for a citizen of the 6th class or higher. For the 3rd day in a row, he felt this strange sensation as he put his arms through his shirt sleeves. His clothes had been starched and carefully ironed. Strangely enough, she knew how to do all those things. Regardless of how she had managed to gather that knowledge, Guy knew his household expenses had started to decline. It had already been a week since they'd met. She'd gotten used to it, especially over the last 3 days. She'd gotten used to life in a tier she clearly didn't know.
Kiyah. いや、その服は。もう何回説明したかしら。らしい格好をするって決めたの。だって看護師さんはみんなこうだもん。
All nurses, huh?
ナースは必要ない。こういうのは3回目のはずだがね。でもそんなの変だわ。お医者様のところにはみんないるもの。確かにね。医者のところにはいるだろう。
He remembered the ant girl working at Yalar's place. Yes, she was part of that hospital. Nurses existed now, just as they did 10 years ago.
正確には僕は医者ではないよ。これを言うのも3回目だ。おかしいわ。おかしい。Gはだってお医者様ですもの。病気や怪我の人を見て治すでしょ。クラッキングドッグだ。ナースが必要になる局面は僕にはない。だからその服は君には必要がない。
A brightly colored nurse uniform, or something similar. She had dyed her own clothes at some point, and she brought the outfit with her to begin with. At the very least, she hadn't bought it. He'd never seen it among the engine factory's mass-produced goods.
でもお注射は打ったわ。昨日も一昨日もその前の日も打った。私ギーを手伝って暮らすのだもの。
Yesterday and the day before and the day before that. She certainly had. She'd injected patients with nutrients post-op, whenever Guy's eyes were elsewhere. He'd been surprised, not at what she did, but at how skilled she was. Her technique was so smooth that he'd almost wondered if she'd had technical engine implants. He'd already used his right eye to confirm that she was a genuine human, but when she injected them, he'd seriously thought she had a crack engine. A mysterious girl. She hadn't seemed the least bit afraid of doing it.
静脈の場所はわかるの。ほら、役に立っているでしょ。いいかい、キーヤ。君はあくまで。
The doorbell rings. He glanced at his clock. It was past 8 a.m. That made sense. They would have finished their morning work by now. Guy looked at the table before standing up. He'd taken a bite out of the bread. Yes, he'd done it today as well. He'd been eating during their conversation. Again, I took a bite. Today, for the third day in a row. He looked at the girl's face. Her pink eyes seemed satisfied and somewhat proud.
お客様
患者だよ。彼らの寝起きする工場はここから近い。週に一度は来なさいと言っている。
Which was why they always woke him up with the small sounds they made by beating with his door.
そうなの。でもここには診察室がないわ。
そういうものは僕には必要ないんだ。
Technically, I'm not a doctor. He ordered his cranial organs to activate his right eye. Roughly half of his vision was covered in a certain kind of brightness. As always, he could see the makeup of organisms. The front door opened before he even touched the knob. Ah, installing the safety device Atty recommended really was a good idea, Guy thought. Not having it was partly responsible for the incident in that underground room. He ought to reconsider his apartment's safety. He laid eyes on his guests, the children. Parle said to him, with a healthy face, "I can reach the doorbell now."
ねえ、ちゃんと呼び鈴の音聞こえた？おはようございます、ギー先生。ちゃんと時間通りに今日も来ました。あれ、おじちゃんちなんか綺麗。前はもっとゴミゴミしてた。ゴミばっかで。あ、キーヤ姉ちゃんだ。おはよう。おはよう。キーヤお姉ちゃん、服きれい。あ、おはようみんな。ありがとうパルン。お客様はあなたたちだったのね。
患者さ。
Real patients. Their bodies truly had been eaten away by disease.
はーい。では皆さん、こちらに並んで。お茶をお出ししますからね。お菓子はないけど、パンなら。お腹は？ペコペコ。何？パンくれるの？パンちょうだい。お腹。私もお腹ペコペコなの。親方ったら朝は何も食べさせてくれないし、お昼はオートミールがちょっとだけだし。それじゃあ準備するわね。ちょっと焼いてバターもつけちゃう。ちょっとだけ甘いジャムもつけよっか。その前にパルのガーゼを変えようね。パルもお腹の包帯先に巻いちゃおう。あ、ダメだからねルポ、それに触っちゃう。この機械欲しい。これ何？ねえ何？新しいエンジンマシン？何かな？いたずらしちゃう子にはパンあげないよ。じゃあ、はーい。いたずらしない。こらルポ、キヤちゃん困らせないの。いい先生のお世話で大変なんだから。
僕の世話か。
He shrugged his shoulders. He should be the one taking care of her, but... That aside, it's still mysterious. Maybe she's older than she seems. Normally, Lupo would be getting overexcited and going berserk by now, but he was quietly listening to what Kiyah told him. This had never happened before. The children would never miss a chance to release their suppressed curiosity. He'd given up on trying to control them. But maybe he shouldn't have given up. It made sense. She was just baiting them.
意外と単純なもんだ。今のうちに見ておくか。
She certainly was making herself useful, at the very least. It shouldn't take as long as usual to examine them. As soon as Guy thought that, he found the girl's pink eyes looking towards him.
お役に立つでしょ？
まあね。
She's quite used to this. More importantly, he never had the slightest intention of letting her get used to it, and yet this is how things had turned out. There was a reason. How and why things had turned out this way, there was a reason. The dealer, Fixter Stanislav, who walked along the very edge of darkness on an infinitely crowded street, had failed. Giy's request had failed. Though it wasn't of much interest to Giy, this caused a bit of commotion on the street. For the fat, greedy old turtle to fail, don't know where I got fat from, he hadn't been able to obtain any information. He knew nothing of her identity. This girl called Kiyah, a girl thought to be at least a 6th-class citizen. That information couldn't be obtained even by Stanislaw, whose connections in the city's skyscraper ran all the way up to the upper-tier aristocrats. Kiyah herself didn't say a thing. She wouldn't say anything about who she was. No individual engine record number, nor card, though that in of itself wasn't rare. The rest was simple, since risking his own life for others is part of his identity. Giy used the penalty for breach of contract to obtain a cheap, forged record number and a card, temporarily making Kiyah his registered daughter. Yes, that was the value of a single human's life. Dying was the same in a way. A place was prepared for it, and that was all. Such things are always simple.
まあそうね。だってそもそもギーが何かを拾ってくるのは不思議なことじゃないんだし、あの子たちだって初めは同じような感じだったし。まあそうね。簡単なことね。簡単なこと。取るに足らないことさ。簡単なことじゃない。私の寝床は、私の権利は、私の安眠は、私の予売は。娘って何よ、どうなってるのギ
偽装だよ。落ち着き先が見つかるまでの。そろそろ醸造兵がうろつく時期だ。それと予売が君の権利とは知らなかった。
そういうことを言ってるんじゃないのさ。わかんないかな、ギーは。
段差があるから気をつけて。
親切ね、ギー。
怪我をされると僕が疲れる。アンティ、どうしてそう朝から僕を睨む？
ギーは朝から仲良くキーヤ連れて巡回診療。いつもならまだベッドの中のはずなのになんで起きてるのさ。私が起こしたから。いいの。キーヤちゃんはいいの。悪いのはこの男の方なんだから。いつもの恩を何だと思ってるのかしらって。
寝ていくなら寝ていけばいい。誰もいないからゆっくり眠れるぞ。
ああもう。
ビズで何かあったのか？
子孫じるのは亀爺だけで十分。ちゃんとオーガのハーフを乗せてきちんとクライアントのご利益を守ってきたところさ。
Nevertheless, she was sullen. He shrugged his shoulders and put a hand on Attie's head. Her gaze was exceedingly sharp, but her ears on top of her head weren't as sullen. He rubbed them and looked up to his right. The monorail was here.
冷蔵エンジンにもらい物の酒がある。開けてくれると助かる。
はいはい。キーヤちゃん、ギーのことよろしくね。アティ、お仕事ご苦労様。おやすみなさい。
キヤ、ここも段差がある。
He boarded first and held out his hand. He thought the difference in height from the stone pavement to the monorail was too high for her, so he held out his hand. A gaze pierced through his extended hand. The black cat didn't seem to be feeling any better.
なんだかな。
It's also the third time I felt a mysterious gaze on me.
おはよう、キヤ。今日も可愛いね。それって新しい服？その服もよく似合ってるよ。それとギー先生もおはよう。相変わらず顔色悪いね。
This boy's got a mysterious gaze too. And that's easy to see. Mize, a boy who came down with a heavy fever, but had since gotten better and somewhat fatter. Guy was always surprised at how well the young recovered. He'd been as thin as a pencil a week earlier. Now, he'd recovered almost irritatingly well. Of course, this was because his family was sixth-class citizens. He was blessed. He'd received life-saving surgery from Guy, and then his health had been assured by a warm bed and nutritious food. Most of all, he was lucky. Salem's notebook had been found in the rubble at some point, and this boy had been climbing up the list of offerings in it. Yes, he'd heard it from Stanislaw. That information made up part of the compensation for his failures. Mize, this boy was alive. He's no different from the other children who died. Luck and parents. That's all that saved his life.
ミース君、その後お加減はいかが？ごめんね、病気の時のこと知らなくて。疲れやすかったり、痛かったりはしない？
ああ、元気だよ。こいつもいるし、キヤも来てくれて。
もう病気になってはダメよ。家に帰ったらきちんと手を殺菌してね。
Words Guy had used the day before last. Kiyah gave them to the boy as if they were natural. So, she was good at remembering things. That was another skill which helped with Guy's job. He wasn't all that good at talking to people. However, Kiyah was becoming steadily more used to this life and job. It could become a problem later. He heaved a sigh despite himself. The boy's eyes faced towards him, as if displeased. As if to say, "Why are you here?" Of course, he was here as the boy's doctor. But now Guy saw it. And this boy...
どうしたの、ミース君？怖い顔して。
なんでもないよ。あ、そんなことよりキヤ、今度僕と一緒に摩天楼行かない？秘密基地があるんだ。
摩天楼？
I see. He's doing quite well. His youth was a valuable thing. It wouldn't be bad for him to fall in love. It'd probably be good for him. Guy decided to let that go for a while. Mai's parents came to lower their heads in thanks. Guy waved his hand, saying, "I don't mind," and made sure that they had his contact information. 12 more cases today. He thought about stopping by the lowest tier today if he had the time. There was a place he wanted to visit.
ところで、ギー先生のところに来て、君はどれくらい経つの？じゃなくて、今付き合ってる男って
付き合う？
好きな人いる
Oh? Oh yeah.
おや？おやおや？おやおやおや？そこ行くあなた、お黙りなさいな。おやおやおや？ねえねえあなた、そう、甘い色の髪の顔色の悪いお兄さんとどこへ行くの？おやおやおや？ねえねえあなた、そう、顔色の悪い甘い色の髪の女の子とどこへ行くの？珍しいこともあるものね、ドクター。ご高名な鉄面皮のお人よしのクラッキングドクが可愛い女の子なんか連れてなーに？かどわかし？珍しいこともあるものね、ドクター。新しい恋人？ああ、忘れてた。あなたに恋人はいないのよね。黒猫が怒るくらいに。でも驚いたわ。本当にびっくり。びっくりだわ。ずいぶん若い女の子なのね。てっきりバーンアウトだと思ってたのに罪に置けないわ。ギー、ねえギー、このそっくりさんの女の子たちは誰？あ、父はアグネス、よろしくね。無限雑踏街で働いてる情報屋さんなの。私はフランシスカ、よろしくね。姉と一緒に働いてる羊の情報屋さんなの。
A single sigh. I've been caught by this irritating pair again. He was just thinking that he hadn't seen their faces in a while. And now they'd shown themselves in such a bolsterous way. Twin sisters changed into fantastic mutants. Behind the robust Stanislav back, these two informants managed all of the infinitely crowded street. Guy had thought about seeing them if he could.
アグネスにフランシスカね。わかった。覚えたわ。
キア、違う。フランシスカと言った方がアグネス。アグネスと言った方がフランシスカ。二人とも初対面の相手で遊ばないこと。
ああ、もう嫌になっちゃう。雑踏街名物の美人姉妹を叱る男なんてあなたくらいのものだわよ、ドクター。もういいのキーヤ。こんな男についていったら不幸になる。今ならお見合い相手もお安く探すわよ。ギーがいいの。ごめんなさい。へえ、そんなにドクターがいいの。ねえ、どういうところが好きになったの？秘密。やだ、お熱い。
調子を合わせる必要はないよ。キア、あまりふざけない。
ブーブー。
二人ともこの子の名前は知っているらしいね。
もちろん。
それは心強いことだ。何かその大きな耳に入った話はあるかい？
情報を買うのね。それならもちろんお題をもらうわ。と言いたいところなんだけど、特にないわ。行方知れずになった子たちのリストなら半年あれば揃えられるけど。こないだの地下室魔だけじゃなくてね、年中の行方知れずの子を当たるならそのくらいかかるかな。
いくらかかる？
いくらだと思う？
Smiling from ear to ear, they both tilt their heads at the same time, at the same angle. It looked like asking them really had been a mistake. It was like asking how much smog there was in the city. He shrugged his shoulders.
高いみたいだし、ほらねギー、無理しちゃダメ。
何か釈然としない物言いだ。キア、君のことだよ。
キーヤのことだから無理しないでいいもん。ほら、何もおかしくない。え？そっちのネタはないんだよ。ごめんね。その代わり、ドクターに合いそうな話ならそれなりに拾ってきちゃったりして。お仕事のお話、病人や怪我人、たったい都営医院や個人病院なんかに駆け込まれる前にお仕事取りたいよね。
派手に取りたくはないな。
ガメジーのことなら気にしないでオッケー。私たちは正真正銘の情報屋なんだから、あんな兼業じいさんとは一緒にしないでよ。で、ドクター、まずはいくら出せるか言ってみよっか。
Twin pink sheep, sometimes cute and sometimes strong. They were residents of the vitrolic lower tiers. Guy searched his already light wallet. He could probably buy one piece of information. Normally, it'd be very hard for girls this young to achieve fixed bodies and minds as fantastic mutants. Even so, they'd done it. By greedily searching for money, they'd kept themselves alive. They're strung at times. They can mingle with the filth wriggling around infinitely crowded street. A small man. His name was Randolph, though very few had ever heard that name. No one knew his surname. He was strength incarnate, and a madman, always immersing himself in the gutters, searching for something. He peered into Guy's eyes and gazed intently. This man always spoke of incomprehensible things, which was why people called him a madman. Randolph was always like that. As usual, he was sitting opposite Guy today, peering into his eyes.
今日はきっと天気がいい。明日も明後日も晴れである。ブルートの誘惑が背中から訪れると。おやおや、 珍しく黒猫以外の娘を連れてると思えば随分とまた変わってしまったようだな。幻滅したように我が同家のお医者様。
People never noticed his insanity right away, since he'd gained a charming face after becoming a fantastic mutant. Tanuki. Kiyah, for instance, the girl sitting next to Gi, appeared to be gazing at him with a forgiving expression.
この人は誰？ギー、彼は初めて見る人だわ。
ランドルフだ。幻滅とはまた随分な物言いだな、アナホリア。
私は余人と違って虚言が述べられないのだ。かつて目にした赤色秘本がそうさせる。何度か説明したはずだがね。ギーと名乗る君、お医者様。君、顔の層がね、ひどく変わっている。残念。ああ、残念だ。君は地獄へ落ちる。
地獄？
聖教の信仰なるものの創造の産物さ。ランドルフ、僕が地獄へ落ちるのかい？
There were many things Kiyah didn't know about. This one, however, was quite understandable. 10 years ago, back when the city was trading with the outside, immigrants from the far-off lands of Sekien imported many things into the city of Inganock. Their faith was something unique to Sekien culture. It's said that they believed in a divine supernatural existence and desired salvation. Hell was the polar opposite of that salvation. It is said to be the place where those with sins were punished. Sins? I see. I've got plenty of those.
君は私と同じように来る。やがて土の中へと死にゆくのみと思っていたのだ。それがずるいな、ギー。君だけ地獄行きだ。羨ましい。
酔っているんだ。まともに聞く必要はない。
その通り。私はいつも世界に酔っている。これは冷めることのない酔いだよ。そう。月は落ちて、今や小惑星帯が踊り場なんだ。土星であるとか。
月？土星？
初めて聞くな。なんだいそれは。
伝聞の言葉だ。因果の国は関係ない。何せ空がないのだから。仕方ない。ギー、仕方がないことだ。そう、仕方がないことだよ、ギー。何かあったようだね。何かと出会ったのか。
For just one instant. It was only for a moment, but it was as his eyes, clouded by lunacy, had suddenly cleared. During the split second, when that badger looked at Kiyah, Gi had seen lucidity within his eyes. That might simply have been his imagination, but it should have been his imagination. Gi knew that the man was raving mad. He also knew that the man had lost sight of reality. Even so, Gi didn't cut off his words, because there was no need to. Gi was insane as well. He went insane a long time ago. He'd been twisted, along with the city, and along with a part of his brain.
彼に会いたまえ。我らが老子に会うといい。きっと君の到来を待っているだろう。
What an interesting fellow. Oh look, another one of these. Who's this guy? On the far left here. I don't know who this is, but let us... This guy's apparently named Iru? Okay. According to my cheat sheet thing here. Aren't they supposed to be mosaic over here? Ati and Gi. And then I'm supposed to like uncover... Anyhow, let's do this in the order it's meant to be. About the fantastic mutants. The term refers to those who were originally human, but whose bodies were mutated, under the influence of revival. Since the majority of Inganock's residents have come down with some kind of large or small mutation, In the strictest sense, it is simply meaning citizens of Inganock. Generally speaking, it refers to the people with large mutations that make their outward appearances different than humans. There are numerous smaller classifications, a portion of which are recorded here. Pucelle, people with characteristics of cats and tigers, possess excellent physical abilities. Gnolls, people with characteristics of dogs and wolves, possess excellent physical abilities and sense of smell. Naga, people with characteristics of reptiles, possess tough and tenacious bodies. Shelob, people with characteristics of insects. Their abilities vary wildly. Forn, people with the characteristics of fish, possess water-related abilities. Ogre, large people with the characteristics of bears, possess enormous bodies and tremendous upper body strength. Ezek, people with the characteristics of cats, possess powerful observational abilities. Iru,
子供たち、わしはお前さんたちを見ている。お前さんたちはわしをエゼクと呼ぶ。わしが実際にその幻想人種であるのか。わしはただ見るだけだ。どこでもそうしてきたし、ここでもそう。因果の語る者なき異形とし、すべてを見よう。わしはお前さんたちのすべてを見よう。誰に頼まれたわけでもない。大空を飛び回る我が娘を見ることだけはできぬがゆえに、わしはお前さんたちを見る。
What? Who is this Iru guy?
その行き着く先に待つ者もすべて見ている。
And when he's talking about his daughter flying across the sky, is that referring to one of those myths where, like, someone pulls the sun or the moon across the heavens or something like that?
41の彼らも見るのとはまた別に、わしは見ていることとしよう。ギー、お前は果たしてその背後の子を受け入れるのか。願いを果たすことができるのか。わしは見ている。
Alright, over to Kiyah.
私は朝が好き。灰色雲越しに柔らかく届く日の光が好き。コーヒーの匂いが好き。飲むのはそんなに得意じゃないけれど、 D はタブロイドを読まないので残念。読んでくれればいいのに。コーヒーの匂いと紙をめくる音が好き。でも少しだけ気に入らない。この朝窓越しに外を眺めても雲と一緒になったたくさんの霧があるの。これだけはどうしてもダメ。霧は嫌いじゃないけれど、朝はもっとすっきりしたいから。だから朝は好きだけど、この霧はちょっと嫌。
Atty.
ギーのところにいるあの子、キーヤ。不思議な子。結局、彼女がどこの誰か、カメジーですら突き止められなかった。一体誰なんだろう。物腰や服装からは上の方の印象だけど、それにしては妙に生活感もあるようだし、不思議。あ、もしかして上層のお姫様だったりして。何かトラブルがあって仮装へ逃げて貧乏巡回医師のところへ転がり込んで。やめよう。これじゃ10年前のダイムノベルみたい。恥ずかしい。足なし。
To the arm. About monsters. They're neither fantastic mutants nor creatures, but organisms resembling sprites and pixies from fairy tales. They're also called mystic beings. Technically, the engine spirits that occasionally pop into existence around engine factories are a kind of monster. But most of them make their homes in various corners of Inganock's lower tiers. Since they're basically the same as animals, it is possible to attack and drive them off. The weak ones, that is. The strong ones cause tremendous destruction whenever they appear. The lowest tiers of all are home to a great many strong monsters. Unless you had a runner escorting you, wandering down into a lowest tier would get you killed almost immediately. So, is like the lowest tier completely uninhabitable then? Because if you're going down there and you're gonna die without a runner, I mean, doesn't that mean people who would live there are fucked as well, or are they just like badasses down there? Whatevs. I'm gonna talk to Guy now.
キーあのスタニスワフすら目を開けてしまった。あの子一体誰なのだ。身元不明の他人。それはこの都市では危険を示す。たとえ少女でもたとえ老人でも子供でも他者は警戒されるべきなのがこの都市だ。たとえ相手に悪意がなくてもそれは変わらない。モンスターの毒に奇病に侵されているとかクリッターに操られているとか可能性は無限に考えられる。それなのに僕は彼女を警戒しているだろうか。いいや、そうしてはいない。なぜ僕はそうしないのか。彼女を信頼している。どうだろう。そう言えるほど彼女を僕は知らない。それでも僕は彼女に対して警戒心を抱いていない。なぜか自然と。本当に不思議なこと。
Back to the weird cat man, Iru.
ランドルフという男がいる。彼とは随分と因縁が深い。出会ったのはもうずっと前のこと。彼がまだ人間の姿をしていた頃だ。比類なき赤学と謳われたザ・ファースト。ローラと共に聖教から渡ってきた赤学。彼はいつから狂ってしまったのか。都市がこうなった時、都市の歪みとともに。いや、それは違う。彼はだいぶ前からもう狂っていた。彼は求めているのだ。真実。都市の真実。なぜ都市がこうなったのか。いや、それは違う。彼は彼にとっての真実のみを求めている。すべての人がそうだ。自分にとっての真実を見つけなくては。わしにはそれがない。だからわしはお前さんたちを見ている。幻想人種たるエゼックの能力。まあそうかもしれない。そうでないかもしれないね。
To the mask. About prices in the markets. Upper tier, approved industries in the first and second tiers undertake enormous economic activity every day. Their influence is felt in markets that support the citizens of every tier. That's the optimistic way of putting it. However, a group of fixers know. They know that it's all a fabrication. The economy is completely controlled. A free economy within the city is optimism itself. In actuality, the prices are all fixed by the upper tier aristocrats. So the citizens won't suddenly die, so that no citizen suddenly becomes too prosperous, upper-tier approved industries, those are puppets of the aristocrats, dogs silenced by shillings. In this city, where the concept of foreign currency doesn't exist, they say that there is no need for it. Plus, no one knows about it. Even if they find out, no one would dare object. As the price of natural eggs skyrockets, those who know about it merely think. They think it can't be helped. Kiyah.
料理のことについて私は本当はだいぶ驚いていた。だって合成卵って何？キッチンの様子は知っているけれど、合成卵とか合成ベーコンとか何？これ味見しようとしてみたらあまりの味をしていたから、もう驚いてしまって2分は呆然と。美味しくない。いいえ、まずい。言い方を選びたいけれど、この言葉しか見つからないほどの味だった。なので私は頑張ってみた。なんとか美味しくなるように試行錯誤、食材を無駄にしないよう再利用しつつ、その結果3日目にして美味しいスクランブルエッグとベーコンの焼き加減を覚えたの。えへん。
Wait a second. She said that it's bad. And Guy hasn't been eating food, right? Like, he barely drinks coffee, and he takes, like, nutrients, right? Could it be that Guy just can't stomach the nasty food because he remembers what good food tastes like or something like that? And that's why he's eating when Kiyah is cooking on the third day? Perhaps. Let's continue on with Atty.
私はあんまり料理にはこだわらない。熱いの苦手だしね。ほら、下に。それでも美味しいものは好き。作るのは無理。私の手じゃスキレットは握れない。特別性を注文するとなると高いし。そう、高い。料理ってのはこだわればこだわるほど。エンジン工場製の大量生産品が安いのは食器も調理器具も食材も同じかな。合成卵とか生で食べられないし、焼いてなんとか。でも結構料理の腕は関係する。まずい合成食材でも上手い人が作ればそれなりになる。その点、あの子はすごいと思う。ずいぶん手慣れてるみたいだし、ちょっと羨ましいかな。
Over to Guy.
僕の背後に佇む彼、その正体に僕は気がついている。それは都市にある唯一のおとぎ話、クリッターすら打ち砕くとささやかれる人々のささやかなおとぎ話。それが彼の正体であるはずだ。僕は確信しているけれど、なぜ君は僕の背後に佇むのかわからない。だが僕は君とこの手を確かに重ねたのだ。鎖につながれてはいて、確かに僕は君の手の温かさを感じていた。
Interesting. To the mask now. I've chosen you, Guy. Guy Sensei, cracking dock. Dr. Guy. You, who I speak of intimately. I've decided, with my one and only eye, I'll watch you. I'll see the same things as you. And I shall extend this hand forward, just as you do with yours. To the arm. about the phenomenon equation experiment. The term refers to an equation experiment the Grand Prince undertook in the upper tier 10 years ago. He did it in order to combat the calamities brought forth by the revival. It is said that the Grand Prince used the last of his strength to grant the city the power to resist these calamities, and did it by completing the phenomenon equation, also known as the Astria theory. The experiment began 7 days after the revival. That's how it was officially announced. But, taking into consideration that the Grand Prince's announcement of the success of the phenomenon equation experiment was 2 years after the revival, it must have actually taken 2 whole years to perfect the equation. It's said that many scholars participated in and were defeated by the phenomenon equation experiment. Even the Grand Prince was said to have come down with an illness. At present, the Grand Prince... Not once in these past 10 years has he showed his face to the aristocrats or to the citizens. Even when announcing the success of the phenomenon equation experiment, even when proclaiming the enactment of the city law of death. Both times, he was only a voice prepared by broadcasting devices. Back to the mask. The rumor of Grim. It's a rumor about a monster. Over 10 years ago, it would have just been a fairy tale. However, now it's a rumor about a monster. Nowadays, fairy tales certainly exist, and they certainly do bear fangs. However, it's a mystery rumor. No one knows whether it really exists. No traces of evidence have ever been found. It really should have been called a fairy tale, just like that Kiyah. However, it was a rumor of a monster, a rumor of a being, in the form of a jester. It isn't known who first spoke of it. It might be that no one did. However, that was the rumor. The rumor of the smiling buffoon who made people go mad. There are those among the fantastic mutants who call it a clown. They're surely right. Someone said that. Then again, maybe no one said it. Even though no one's ever seen the clown, even though no one's ever spoken of seeing it. Nevertheless, someone says that there is a being in the form of a jester that greedily devours people's hearts, and is neither human, nor creature, nor monster. Over to Guy.
老子いる。彼はこの都市のすべてを知るという。それは彼が幻想人種のエゼクであって、その脅威の観測能力ゆえの噂だろうけど、彼には何か覚醒の感がある。まさしく老子だ。誰もが彼に神戸を垂れ、上層貴族さえもが教えを請うことがあるという話はさすがに誇張だろうけど、彼は都市の中にあってまるで都市の外にいるように振る舞う。この10年、彼はここにいるはずなのに、彼はまだ少しとどまっているだけ。そういうかのようにひょうひょうとしてどこにも根ざさない。おそらく市民証であるところもパーソナルエンジンカードも持っていないだろう。彼は知っているだろう。僕の背後に佇む彼のことを。都市唯一のおとぎ話。もしも今6年ぶりに会ったら、彼は何を言うのだろうか。また叱られるだろうか。それとも
Back to Iru.
機械というおとぎ話。それは因果の句唯一のおとぎ話。幻想すべてを脅威と信じてしまった都市で一つだけ残されたおとぎ話。この10年という月日が生んだおとぎ話。 それは人に美しいものをもたらす神。美しさのほとんどを失ったこの都市で、だが本当に全てを失っただろう。本当に機械だけがそれを見せるのか。わしには何もわからないがね。一つだけ言えるのは、わしには全てが美しく見える。生きとし生ける全てがよ。
And let's wrap up with Kiyah.
市場のことなのだけど、あそこはいつ閉まっているのだろう。夜中に見ても開いているし、昼間もいつ休んでいるのだろう。不思議、すごく不思議。いつ掃除をするのかわからない。お店を閉めなくても掃除できるの？不思議。24時間開店営業だと言うけど、じゃあ店長さんはいつ休むの？やっぱり不思議。アッティもそう。夜のお仕事というのは何？ランナーという言葉を聞いたけれど、自分で調べるしかなさそう。それにしても本当に不思議な街。眠れない。夜がない街。
And that is the end. Interesting. But yeah. So I think we'll go ahead and end things here, folks, for this round of Sekien. Yeah. Interesting developments, I must say. So, yeah. We'll pick up things here on the next video, everyone. So until then, if I can remember how to save here. Yes, there we go. I shall do just that. Alright. Alright, until next time, everyone. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye-bye.